everyone, it's Laurie from Cook Scrap Craft, and today's process video is a little bit longer than my usual ones. I'd like to pride myself on creating layouts in not that much time because I don't often have that much time, and I like to be efficient. But this one, I tried something different, so it did take a little bit longer to complete. So even sped up, this process video is going to be a little bit longer than normal. So I thank you in advance for sticking with me, watching all the way to the end, and I do hope that it inspires you. It is also for the October Challenge Yourself theme, which I know usually I post those on the 7th of the month, just kind of time got away from me, and so I didn't have it ready by the 7th, but it's ready now, only 10 days late. And so the challenge, the theme for this month is your favorite quote. And you can make that be however you want it to be. So I am going to be using a quote from the Girl Scouts law, or actually the whole Girl Scouts pledge. And I'll get into that as I start doing the title and the journaling a little bit later. But so for now, I'm trying to create my background. And you'll notice that it looks like I'm doing two things here. I've got a 6x12 piece of that Chamel Main Character Energy pattern paper. And I've got like the same thing going on the 12x12 behind with these, what did I cut these to? 5.5 by 5.5. I accidentally cut that square the wrong thing, so I had to do it again, of course. But I made 5.5 by 5.5 squares, and I've got 4 different pattern papers, so 4 different squares going on the 12x12. And I'm mimicking the left-hand squares on that 12x6. Why am I doing that, you ask? Well, I'm doing that because I'm going to add extra photos to this layout with a 6x12 photo flap. So what it's gonna look like when it's in the page protector is it's going to look like it's one layout, and then you lift up the flap and everything is identical except there are different photos underneath. Hopefully that makes sense. You'll see it as I start to do it. I'm using all these papers are Chamel Main Character Energy that I got from Paper Issues. And I'm actually basing this off of a Chamel Live sketch. I kind of redid the sketches. You might have seen at the beginning, I had 2 pieces of paper with like a sketch laid out. That was for me so that I had a reference for how I wanted to interpret that sketch into this 12x12 and 12x6 element. And I will say, don't forget, if you're using photo flaps, you always need to have something on the back side. That is something that I almost forgot. I thought I was finished, and then I looked behind the photo flap and I went, oh, there's all these cut aparts on the back of this pattern paper, and that doesn't go. So I had to quickly create a back for that. So I've got all of my 5.5 by 5.5 squares. Now it's time to add the photo. I'm using one photo on the 6x12 element, and that is a 4x6, although I do end up kind of cutting it down because I'm going to mat it with a 4x6 photo mat. And the 4x6 sheet that I'm going to use is from a 4x6 Kelly Perky pattern paper pack that I got in my July warehouse box from Paper Issues. Now, because this is a challenge yourself theme, you have to have yourself somewhere in the photos. So I am in this photo, and I'm also going to be in a photo that I'm putting on the back of this photo flap. So I'm in this photo, and it's me leading our Girl Scout troop in saying the Girl Scout pledge and starting off our meeting. We went into the city to where my old office was located. And because I work in the toy industry, we did a toy inventor designer business badge. I don't remember what it was called, but it was a toy badge. And so that was kind of fun. It was just a neat little field trip for us to do. So all of these photos that are going to be on this layout are from that trip that we did. And for my quote, I chose the Girl Scout pledge because it's the Girl Scouts. I don't know if it's my favorite quote, but it's a quote and it goes with these photos. And I was like, hey, that gives me a great title and I'm going to use it for this theme. So there you go. Now I'm adding in some of this purple paper because I need to have sort of a strip of paper that goes underneath the photo, and it's going to cut off at the edge of that 6x12 piece. And then it's going to extend onto the 12x12. And like I said, it's going to be mimicked behind the photo flap as well. Now I probably should have measured a little bit more because here on the 6x12 flap, the purple piece extends past the photo. And then when I put it on the backs, on the 12x12, it was a little short. So it doesn't go, it's not a 100% mimic. I could have just cut a new strip, but I wasn't thinking about it at the time. I was just thinking, oh, this will be fine. It'll totally work. As you know, as I do, not really thinking through things sometimes when I'm scrapbooking. So it wasn't until later on in the process that I went, oh, this is not the same size. It's not really going to be the same thing. Even though I'm like trying to put it right, I tried to match it up. Anyway, I don't know what happened, but this was tricky. This was a tricky thing to do because here I am trying to get everything to be very exact. I've got basically two elements to this layout that I have to create. It was very tricky. So I'm not saying you should don't try it, but I'm just saying like, hey, if you have some photo flops like this, which I got mine from Close to My Heart, if you have some 6x12 photo flops, and I've done them before, but you use them, try them out, try something different with them. You can either do something like this where it's like a surprise reveal of a mirror image underneath, or you can just use them as a way to add extra pages to a layout. Something that I've wanted to do that I saw someone else do on, I think it was TikTok actually, is have two 6x12 flaps open up onto the 12x12 layout. I really like that, and I was going to do that a couple months ago in a process video, and I just didn't do it. I ended up doing something else, and so those photo flaps never got used, but that is something that's on my to-try list, and I would like to know down in the comments below if you guys have ever done anything like this with photo flaps, or what your favorite size of photo flaps is to use, or if you even use photo flaps at all. Maybe you've never even heard of these things, but they are out there, and so there you go. I also want to draw your attention to the description box below, because if you want to try your hand at this month's Challenge Yourself theme, your favorite quote, go to the Challenge Yourself blog, where you're going to get all the details about how to enter and what the prize is, and then you can see everybody on the design team and what they created. Now, something else I will say about these photo flaps. The sticky part obviously has to be stuck to something. So think about that when you're thinking about putting it on top of a page protector or your layout. I was not, so I created as though the 6x12 panel was going to lay right on top of the 12x12. And it still is. I'll show you at the end when I do put it on a page protector. Normally I don't put them on the page protectors yet because I like to see how it fits within my chronological album. But I thought for this, I still have other photos from this event to scrapbook. So I thought for this, it doesn't really matter what side it's on because it's part of a series. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the page protector. And when I do, I end up sticking the adhesive strip to where the hole punches are, because I use D-ring albums, although it would be the same with post-bound albums, but where the holes are on the page protector to either put your posts in or do your D-ring, right? Just something to think about. If I had thought about that in advance, I might have done things a little bit differently in terms of the sizing of everything, but I think it still works out, and I'll get to that at the end. So now I'm on to the full 12x12, and I took two photos and cut them down to 3x4, or just a little bit smaller than 3x4, because I'm going to mat them on that same yellow paper from Kelly Purkey. So you can see I'm trying to mimic the size and the shape that was on the front flap to what's behind. So hopefully this is making sense. So I'm just popping those down. I have washi tape over parts of the photo just for privacy reasons for some of these girls. You can see my daughter's face. She's fine to be shown, but the washi tape will come off once I have finished creating this and I'm ready to put it in my album, not on YouTube. But I've got some embellishments next to it. So those embellishments are going to look like they're part of the 6x12 flap, but then when you open it up, they're actually part of the 12x12 page. And this was a really weird one to do because I have to take a photo of it for the Challenge Yourself blog so that it can be shared on the Challenge Yourself Facebook group. And I'm like, I took a 12x12, I took a shot of the 12x12 layout and then realized my photo isn't on that one and I have to show my photo. So I need to go back, take everything out of the page protectors because glare, and get a shot of it looking like, get a shot of the front with the flap because that's the photo where I'm in, right? I also did my title using the American Crafts Chamel Main Energy Thickers. And so I titled it On My Honor, but I am going to go back into the journaling and write out the whole Girl Scout pledge. And that's going to be on the back side of the flap. Okay, so now I'm just trying to figure out other embellishment pieces that I want to add from this main character energy collection. I really liked that sort of journaling spot tag that I had tucked behind the photo, but I like the thing that says do what you love, love, love better. So I'm going to take that journaling spot tag and I'm actually going to move it over to the bottom there. And that's going to serve as the journaling spot about what these photos are, as opposed to the journaling on the back of the flap where it's the Girl Scout pledge. So I'm sticking this down. It's going to look like it's going off the page a little bit, which I love when stuff like that happens. So I'm just going to cut off that excess in a second. And then I have inked the edges of that die cut piece just to make it stand out a little bit more and make it stand out even more. I'm adding some foam squares to the back of it so it really pops. Yes, it's going to be in a page protector, but I love using foam squares. You still get that dimension even when something is covered in a page protector. I don't know if you guys remember the olden days of scrapbooking before page protectors, or at least before I knew about page protectors. The only albums I ever used were Creative Memories albums, and I purchased them at a local scrapbook store. They were very expensive. They were all post-bound, and you kind of scrapbooked right onto the page. There was no plastic covering, although you probably could have bought a plastic covering for them. I'm pretty sure that they still make those types of albums and that they do have some sort of overlay to put on them, but I was in high school at the time. I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't have a Creative Memories consultant, and I was also really poor. So, buying an album was like, oh my gosh, that required multiple paychecks to buy a scrapbook album. So I didn't do page protectors. I used to scrapbook right onto the page. I'm just wondering if anybody else remembers those days, and if that's how you used to scrapbook. Let me know down below in the comments. Let's have a little bit of a trip down memory lane. Here I'm putting the embellishment or the journaling finally on that spot. I've added a couple more embellishments, just some stickers and enamel. They're not enamel dots. Some of them are dots, some of them are hearts. Really pretty stuff in this main character energy collection. I really, really like the colors. I like the variety of embellishments. So I always like to, when I'm making embellishment clusters, have a variety. So I like to do stuff that's flat. I like to do stuff that's cardstock, stuff that's more of a glossy sticker. That's my deal. So now I'm trying to create another embellishment cluster behind my flap. And this one I'm using little sticker phrases, although I put that one down and then I ended up not liking it. It does peel off very, very well. Sometimes when I like to do groups of 3s with those phrase stickers. And sometimes when I'm trying to create a grouping, one of them is always just like not the right size. It really works best if they're all generally the same size, and then you can kind of stagger them like I've done. I don't know, if it's too long, it just doesn't fit. Unless I guess you put it in the middle and then you have 2 smaller ones, top and bottom. I don't know. This is just how I think it looks good for me. But I did add that larger one down below on top of the rainbow. and even an extra one. I'm using up like all the stickers on this one, all the embellishments. So I go to put this into the page protector because I wanted to be able to show you guys how it works. And you can see here that I've got my 6x12 thing in the 6x12 flap, and I'm going to open it. I'm practicing opening it, and I'm like, oh, there are those cut aparts that you can now see, and I don't want you to be able to see it. So luckily, because I split this 12x12 pattern paper into 6 inches, I still had the other half, which was 6 inches, that I could use as a backing. And that photo there has me in it still. So technically there are 2 photos of me on this layout for this Challenge Yourself theme. That photo I had cut into 3x4, and originally I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to use it. Because I have, the 2 3x4s, that's going to be like the same size as my 1 4x6. And so I don't need this extra photo. It's just going to look weird. So I was going to set it aside and throw it out. And then when I realized I needed to create another panel for this back of the flap, I went, oh, well, good thing I have this extra photo that I could throw in. So what I'm doing here is making it look like it's an extension of the 12x12. So I'm mimicking the 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch squares that are on the right side of my 12x12 sheet. So now it looks like, there's some, what's the word I'm looking for? Symmetry here, right? And then I got to figure out, like, where do I want to put this photo though, so that it looks right, So of course I'm still going to mat it with that yellow paper for consistency purposes. I work in video editing, and like consistency and what's the other word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. Somebody will tell me in the comments below, but like when you're watching a TV show or a movie and someone is standing with their arms crossed in one shot and then it cuts to a different shot and their arms are down by their sides. Continuity, I think, is what it is. And you're like, oh, the editor missed that. Like, how could you miss that? No. Stuff like that bothers me. So anyway, I was trying to have good continuity for this one and make it still look like this is just an extension of that 12x12 space. So what I end up doing, because I'm going to have this other journaling spot down on the bottom square, I'm just going to do the photo in the center of the top square and the journaling spot in the bottom of the in the bottom of the bottom square, in the center of the bottom square. And if you don't know what the Girl Scout promise is, it's on my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. And then there's a whole Girl Scout law with 10 principles that Girl Scouts aspire to be. I'm not putting those on here. I'm just doing the promise. And because that's how we always start every meeting. It's something that eventually you memorize. And I'm not going to lie to you, the last time, before I became a leader, the last time I had probably said this was when I was a brownie in 91, 92. But I still, I saw the words and I was like, oh yeah, I remember saying this. It never left my brain. So I think that's kind of silly. It's kind of funny. So yeah, I'm just going to stick these pieces down. And then it's time to add some extra embellishments to these pieces because, of course, I can't let something go without embellishments. Now I'm trying to figure out, what should I add? What will look good? I was going through the flowers because at the time the girls were daisies. So I was looking to see if there were any floral pieces that might be a good fit. Some of them in the die cut pack were a little large, but I really liked that sticker as a corner piece down at the bottom. And since I did a corner piece on the bottom right, I needed to do something on the top right. So I moved both of those little birdie stickers up to the top right, and then I'm just going to add something, something else to kind of fill out that little embellishment cluster up at the top, because I like to do groups of 3s. That's my rule, tried and true, hard and fast. So I'm just adding a little. Did I put that on foam dots? No, I can't remember. All right, but now it's time to put the whole thing together. And I will say photographing stuff in page protectors is super hard because of the glare. And I really wish that I could figure out an easier way to show you that it's in a page protector, but it's hard. So the photos that you see at the end that are close-ups that are taken out of the page protectors, but I do need to try to get a photo out of the page protector for the Challenge Yourself blog. So what am I doing here? I've taken off the adhesive. I've lined it up to the the edge of the page protector, and it's obviously covering up those holes. So I'm taking my Crop-A-Dile and I'm just punching holes. I'm just punching new holes through the adhesive, and so that way the hole from the page protector is still visible and usable. And there's a little bit of adhesive that you can see at the edge, because I don't know the place where the holes are, the place where the adhesive are, they're not the same size. So I'm just using some washi tape on the back here to kind of cover that up. And I don't think anybody's going to notice. They're just going to be like, oh, that's pretty. Gold washi tape. Cool. And here it is flipping. So I know this was a long process. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope that you were inspired and that you try your hand at a layout like this as well. And enter your layout in the Challenge Yourself contest for this month. Details are below. Thanks for watching. Bye.